Greetings to my unbelievable VCON Malaysia V family all over the world. This is it, your upline, your gorgeous, your sexy, most unbelievable upline, Pathman Senathirajah Chief, here, excited because I spent 4 hours, 4 long hours, finally, conclusively presenting to Dato Sri Vijay, our grand upline and mentor, VCON Malaysia. Alright, 2019, Lead to Inspire, Inspire to Lead, 23rd April to 27 April. I don't want to say anything. I'm insisting, I'm demanding, and I'm looking at you and telling you, you must be there, because this event is going to change your life. You are going to see the man himself, Dato Sri Vijay Ishwaran, live on that stage from day 1 to day 5. And VCON is not about network marketing. VCON is not about anything. It's about you changing, evolving, becoming a brand new person, all right? And starting that unbelievable journey to max out right after the VCON, like many people before you, the max out kings and queens of the V family. And this Wednesday message, I was sitting down and thinking, all right, about what exactly it is required of you and me to truly be successful in network marketing. And sometimes we think it's knowledge, which I've told you it's not. We think it's practice makes perfect. We think it's sometimes the right market, right environment, the right upline, the right system, the right product promoted, and everything. And I remember asking the same question to my upline and mentor, Dato Sri Vijay. And I asked him, I said, what is the answer to success? What is this answer that is the ultimate answer to success? And I know there's no answer per se. And he looked at me, he said, change. And I looked at him, confused as usual, thinking he was commenting on my shirt, that I have to change my shirt or change my hairstyle. I don't know what he meant. Okay, I was 22 years old. I looked at him and I said, Dato Sri, or that time he was just Vijay Ishwaran. Alright, and I said, Ishwaran, what is change? He said, you have to change. And I'm going to share on this Wednesday message, the message he gave me 20 years ago, that I believe strongly was my point of awakening, my point of realization that brought me here today as your upline and a success story of QNet and the V. And it's very simple, and I need you to focus. If you're brand new in the business or 10 years in the business, doesn't matter. Alright? Shut up and listen to me right now. Don't be distracted, whatever is happening there. Alright? Focus. Okay? From the time you were born until you signed up in QNet, you spent 18 years in life. 20 years, 25, 40, 45, 50, 70, doesn't matter. And then one day you decided to sign up in QNet. Now, Dato Sri Vijay told me that years before QNet, you experienced life. You were formed, not physically, but here. Your paradigm shifts were formed. Alright? Your growth process, who you are, everything was formed here throughout those years before you signed up. Now the challenge is, throughout the journey, you picked up some very good habits, alright? Some good teachings from your parents, from your mentors, from your school teacher, from life, from spirituality, from everything you experienced. You picked up a lot of good things, but you also picked up a lot of bad habits. You also picked up a lot of negative attitudes, defeatist attitude, and then you signed up in QNet. And when you came into QNet, you came as you are, the complete package, good and bad, and you started your journey. Alright, listening to your upline, or like for me, listening to Dato Sri Vijay. And after a few weeks, I looked at Dato Sri Vijay and I said, hey, there's no results, Dato Sri. Alright, I'm working hard. I'm doing presentation. What's happening? And every time I reach that roadblock, every time I reach that point of frustration like you are facing right now, maybe watching this Wednesday message, Dato Sri would simply say, change. Alright? Because who you are can only take you to a certain extent. This is the most important lesson I've learned. that who you are right now watching this Wednesday message could take you to 500 US a week, 2000 US a week, maybe 5000 US a week, or maybe 250, or maybe zero. And in order to change the results, you try to change everything else. Alright, presentation change, shirt color change, you look at the moon, the stars, you put a ring, you put a bracelet, you understand? You try to evolve, spiritual help, ask God, please help me change my method. No, it's a waste of time. The only way to change results of your networking journey is to change who you are. Change. So when I first got into network marketing, Dr. Sri gave me this fantastic process to do, which I'm going to do with you right now. So listen. You know who you are. You know your weaknesses, you know your strength. Don't lie, you know. And I know you know. Alright? You look in the mirror and you know the truth about yourself better than anyone around you. So the first thing I want you to do is identify 3 weaknesses. 3 weaknesses that has followed you from the time you were born until today. 3 weaknesses that you know in the past, before QNet, has completely, screwed up your life at multiple points, whether it's relationships, work, any form of success, or any form of goals or dreams you were chasing after. You understand? 3 weaknesses. And I want you right now to sit, watch the Wednesday message, and take these 3 weaknesses and throw them away. Alright? That's the first point of change. You see, change starts with getting rid of things you already changed. Because the combined you has bad and good, weaknesses and strength. Your job is to eradicate the weaknesses. Eradicate the weaknesses so the strengths can be amplified. So 3 weaknesses. 3 weaknesses that has been there with you for years, even before QNet. 3 weaknesses you need to get rid of now to start this journey to financial freedom. Alright? And you need to completely change who you are. If you are the type of person who gets angry, stop getting angry. If you're the type of person who give up too easily, push yourself harder every time you feel like giving up by remembering your dream, your purpose, your max out, your destination. If you're the type of person who don't care, figure out why you're doing this and find a purpose, find the care in your heart to your downlines, towards your family, kids, wife, mother, father, in-laws, uplines. Change. So I realized that throughout my 20-year journey in QNet, every time I faced stagnation, every time I got stuck, every time I felt lost, every time there was lack of success, and I went back to my mentor in upline, Dr. Sri Vijay, his answer was always the same. Pathman, don't change the world. Don't change things around you. Don't change your system. Don't change your approach. Change Pathman, and everything else will change. Coming back to the greatest legend of our historical existence, Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change you want to see in the world. And Dr. Sri said the same thing which applied to me in network marketing. Be the change. You need to change. If you are not doing, rule 3, then start doing rule 3. Change that attitude. Create that discipline. Create that commitment. Think of the reason. Think of the people who depend on you. Find a way to ignite the fire within you so that you can change. Alright? So what I realized in 20 years, that you cannot remain the same person and create greater results. You cannot remain the same and create bigger checks. You cannot remain the same and create a bigger organization. That every step of the way, every few steps, every few months, every few years, there must be drastic change within you. So if somebody sees you in 2015 and sees you in 2019 and they don't say, oh my God, you have changed so much, then you have failed. Alright, so when I meet friends of mine from long time ago, I said this many Wednesday messages ago. When I meet my friends from years ago, when I meet my friends from college, from school, my hometown, my childhood, and they look at me and say, oh my God, Pathman, you have changed so much, I don't recognize you. It's not about the looks. I was always handsome. Alright, but it was who I am. And it's not in a bad way. That's the greatest compliment you can get from somebody. So ask your wife whether you have changed. Ask your husband whether you have changed ever since you signed up in QNet or the day you signed up in QNet. Ask your parents, ask your kids, ask your best friends whether you have changed. Because without change, no greater result can be achieved. Without change, nothing around you will change. So for things to change, I have to change. And I realized that people resist change. It's uncomfortable. It's out of your comfort zone. It requires you to quell your ego. It requires you to empty your cup. It requires you to listen to somebody greater, more profound like Dato Sri Vijay or your uplines. It requires you to let go and just change and move forward and grow. So to each one of you today, if you are struggling in QNet, all right, and you just signed up, if you're struggling after 2 years, if you're struggling after 3 years, you're struggling after 5 years, the issue is never the environment. The issue is never the challenges you face. The issue is you. Your inability to change, your inability to evolve, your inability to let go and not remain the same person you were. It is not a compliment when somebody says you haven't changed. Yeah, keep your humility. Don't forget your roots. Don't forget where you came from. But you got to change. And people say that changing is difficult. Of course it is. But if you find a purpose, a dream, a goal, a mentor, all right, that is stronger than your stubbornness. Because the refusal to change is because you're stubborn. Your ego is too big. So find a mentor who can crush your ego. Find a dream, find a goal, find a purpose that is far greater than the resistance you're putting up for you to change. If you talk too much, talk less. If you talk too less, talk more. If you don't listen, start listening. If you don't know how to work hard, simply follow somebody who works harder than you and keep up with their momentum, their pace. If you don't have a dream, come to VCON and find your dream. If you give up too easily, remember your purpose, remember your kids, remember your parents, remember your husband or wife. Remember why you started this journey. Alright? And if you are too afraid of challenges and negativity, then find it inside your heart to be a warrior for your downlines who depend on you, who you made promises to. But change. Always remember, you need to change. Find those 3 things that are negative, that's been holding you back throughout your journey of life, and throw them out. And start this journey. And then change. Move a few steps. Change. Reach a certain level of achievement. Change. Not your environment, not your system, not your presentation, but you. And only when you change, you will grow and grow and grow. And only when you will change, will more people follow you. Only when you change, will the world listen to you. Only when you change, will success chase you instead of you chasing success. So my message to you today is exactly what Dato Sri Vijay told me 20 years ago, and it helped me completely to be who I am today. And it's only 3 words: change or die.